Jai Vishnupad, Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Jai Vishnupad, Srila Bhakti Rakha Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Jai Bhagavan Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur ki jai. Rupanuga Guru Varga ki jai. Jai Sri Chaitanya Saraswata Acharya Brinda ki jai. Jai Vaishnava Seva Brinda ki jai. Harinam Sankirtan ki jai. Nitai Guru Purnima Hari Hari Bam. So, oh, that's better. Yeah. So here we are, our Sunday afternoon broadcast from Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Math, East London branch, 466 Green Street. Today we're I wanted to talk about Guru Purnima, which was observed yesterday by us, and things pertaining to that. Or just next Sunday I won't be here, so I don't think we'll have a broadcast next Sunday. I'm going to be away, but we should resume. Well, actually, the next Sunday, the 8th of August, that is the disappearance day of our beloved Guru Maharaj, the founder Acharya of Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Math, all over the world. Founder Acharya, the Srila Guru Maharaj said, institution is formed to promote an ideal. So that ideal is the exclusive teachings of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur as presented by our Guru Maharaj Om Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Rakha Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj in his own unique style and presentation, very exclusively, and that was the sum and substance of the mission of Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj. He took those teachings all over the world. And our Acharya Brinda, current Acharya Brinda, they are also continuing that for preaching the teachings of Guru Maharaj, Srila Sridhar Maharaj, all over the world. So yesterday was Guru Purnima. So Guru Purnima is famous in India. Guru Purnima is celebrated by so many. In fact, in Vrindavan is a very big festival in Vrindavan, Govardhan, that area, very big festival. It's also observed by Buddhists and also observed by Sikhs. A general day when the Guru is worshipped, and it is generally thought of as the day when Devashis made his appearance in the world. So Devashis, of course, the compiler of all the Vedic scripture and the author of the Bhagavat Purana, Srimad Bhagavatam. So Srimad Bhagavatam, or the Amala Purana, which is Guru Maharaj said the junior most of the scriptures, but with the senior most thought. Although it is the last work, you can say, of Devashis. We know, of course, in the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam, it's explained that Vyasadeva, who's often referred to as the literary incarnation of Godhead, that he was Shakti-based avatar. Shakti-based avatar means empowered, a person with the Shakti of the Lord, and his particular service was to present, or to, you can say, in written form, the Vedic literature, beginning with the 4 Vedas and the Puranas and Itihasas, which means the histories, and Vedanta, Darshan and Upanishads, etc. We don't say that he is the author of those, but because the Vedic scripture being so vast is the recorded teachings of so many different saints and sages of different fields, not just spiritual teachings. There's all kind of practical material world teachings also in the Vedic scripture. There's Vedas that deal with warfare, there's Vedas that deal with architecture, there's Vedas that deal with medicine and so on. So how to navigate the world is also included in that. But primarily the Veda is for the upliftment of mankind and the spiritual enlightenment of mankind. So the word Veda means to know. So Guru Maharaj, when he explained that, is as an imperative. So it means know this, you should know this. So sometimes it's said it means knowledge, but it actually means know, you should know this, K-N-O-W, you should know this. So it is what is necessary for us to know. So he did that service, and of course, after compiling all of the Vedic scripture and with the inspiration of the Lord guiding him, we can understand that he is at the very peak of his own spiritual development. But still, after finishing that task, you can say, he was feeling dissatisfied. And in that dissatisfaction, he retired to his ashram, Bajrik ashram. And understanding that, his Gurudev, Narad Rishi, he appeared at Bajrik ashram and told, and Vyasadeva revealed his heart to him. After compiling all of this knowledge and so on, I'm not feeling complete. I'm not feeling that I've really accomplished what I set out to do. I don't understand what I've missed. And basically, Narad told him, yes, I mean, I understand that, and that's for that reason I have come. But the reason is you've presented so much, you can say that you've created a jungle of thought, a great jungle. And if anyone tries to navigate that to understand what is the absolute truth, they're going to be confounded, they're going to be confused, because as you know, the Vedic scripture tells very many different opinions according to the particular scripture and according to the audience that it's aimed at. So Vyas says, you've hinted at it. Narad told Vyas, you've hinted at the absolute truth here and there, inasmuch as you've given some indication. But what you really want, what you really need to show to the people is prema pumarta mahan, that which is the ultimate aim of life, prema. And what kind of prema? Krishna prema. So otherwise, what you've done so far is actually a disservice, in as much as it's going to help people navigate this material world, but it neglects to inform the people what is the ultimate goal of life, what is the fulfillment of life. So then you should begin. And he said, I'll give you some shlokas. And by meditating on those shlokas, you will understand what is the absolute truth, and you can compose that. And this will be your own composition, greatest composition. And that was, Vyasadeva took that to heart, and he authored the Srimad Bhagavatam, the Bhagavad Purana, also sometimes called the Amala Purana, which means, Amala means spotless or spotlessly pure, so that everything that is superfluous to our understanding of spiritual life is eliminated from there. and only that which is essential. So, and what is the essential message of Srimad Bhagavatam? That is presented in the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. But we should not jump straight to the 10th canto. It is necessary for us to study and understand that all 9 preceding cantos before approaching the 10th canto, which is the real, you can say, the essence of the whole scripture is found there. And Guru Maharaj said that the very essence of that teaching, that everything that Vyasadeva, every letter, every word that Vyasadeva is composing in Srimad Bhagavatam, that is just to bring us to the understanding of the superior position of Radha Thakurani, Srimati Radharani. So the whole of Srimad Bhagavatam is actually to bring us to the service of Srimati Radharani. So in other words, we cannot approach the Lord directly or through our own capacity. That when Guru Maharaj, Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he was giving a lecture at the Brahma Samaj, and after he'd finished his lecture, one of the members there, he came up to him and he said to Guru Maharaj, if the infinite can be known by the finite, then that's not infinite. And Guru Maharaj said, I replied to him, no, if the infinite cannot make himself known to the finite, then he is not infinite. He said, I shook his hand and went my way. So, and this is you can say the very essence of Srimad Bhagavatam is the infinite making himself known to the finite. It must be within the power of the infinite. That man was correct, that for the finite to know the infinite is not possible, because you can't fit the infinite within the finite. It's just a wrong equation. It's impossible. But the infinite must be of such capacity, if he's truly infinite, that he can reveal himself to the finite. And just a moment ago we were seeing our Darkesh Prabhu fighting with an ant in the temple room. But Guru Maharaj used this example of the ant in the temple to illustrate this very point. He's saying, so, the ant, he's running around the floor of the temple room. He almost certainly not aware of our presence here. He doesn't know that we are other living beings sharing this same space with him. All he knows is his ant business and going about his ant business, and totally unaware of us. If he comes in contact with us, we're just an object to go around or to go over or whatever, to navigate. But, Guru Maharaj said, but if I touch him, if I extend my finger to that ant and touch him, then the ant may have some awareness. Oh, someone is touching me. Some other living being is touching me. So Guru Maharaj said, we are like the ant, that in our own capacity we have no ability to understand or to even perceive the presence of the divinity or of God. It's not within our capacity. We may philosophically discuss it or deal with it in that way, but we have no actual way of verifying that. But if the Lord extends himself to us and touches us, then we may have some awareness of the spiritual reality may come within us, even for a moment. That's within his power to do that. And it is within his power, you can say, to fill us with that awareness of the divinity, awareness of the divine. But of our own nature, we do not have the capacity for that. We are finite, and as that man rightly said, the finite cannot know the infinite. And if he does, If he says that he knows the infinite, he's not talking about the infinite, he's talking about something else. But at the same time, as Guru Maharaj pointed out, the infinite must be able to make himself known to the finite, otherwise he cannot be infinite. So this is the whole premise of Srimad Bhagavatam, that here is the scripture that explains to us the nature of divinity and can awaken within us the understanding of the presence of divinity. So if we approach it in the proper way. And what is the proper way? The proper way means, first of all, we have to be submissive to the truth, that we wish to understand the truth by submission, not by inquisitiveness or by a challenging spirit, that I want to oppose what you say and you have to prove to me that you're right. No, that won't do, actually. This is the common idea of the atheist, who will, shake their fist to the sky and say, if God exists, then I demand that he appears before me immediately. When he doesn't appear, then they say, there you are, proof positive that he doesn't exist. So, which is as absurd and arrogant as some person going outside the gates of Buckingham Palace and demanding that the Queen come to the gate to talk to them. You'll be moved along by the police, or you might even be strapped up in a straitjacket and bundled off to the local mental asylum. So it is no more ridiculous than that, that why the Lord must submit to anything, any demand from our side. That is just arrogance and a type of insanity to think that that's the case. Anyhow, so Vyasadeva, he began that work and accomplished that work, and that is the greatest scriptural knowledge that has come from Vedavyas. And everyone that follows Vedic religion, whatever their particular branch of Vedic religion that they follow, all recognize the authority of Vyasadeva. And so that's why Narad said, only you can do this, no one else. They won't believe anybody else, they'll only believe you. And so Vyasadeva began that work, and right from the beginning he says, everything that is kaitabya, or cheating, which is ultimately cheating, is eliminated from this work. So we can see, even those followers of the Veda and so on, what Srimad Bhagavatam tells us at the very beginning is, it's all misconception, whatever it may be. Everything in this world is a misconceived idea. Our approach to life, everything is misconceived. It is all ultimately unnecessary for us. What is necessary for us is to find the fulfillment of our own soul. So, that is, the Lord is Satchidananda Vigraha. He is the embodiment of eternity, of consciousness and of bliss. And likewise, the soul is described in that same way as being Satchidananda. But that means in its fulfilled state. Currently we can agree, yes, Sat, we are eternal beings. We are eternal beings living in a temporary environment and navigating that through this temporary body. And we are chit, we are conscious, as Descartes told, I think, therefore I am. So we are aware of our own existence, therefore we are chit, that is consciousness. We are aware of our existence. But anandam, who can say that they are filled with anandam? No, that is the potential of the soul. Or as Guru Maharaj would say, the food of the soul is anandam. The soul needs its own food, and that food is anandam. And what is anandam? Anandam means Krishna Prema. Krishna Prema is the highest type of Anandam. And that Anandam, in its fullest, most exclusive manifestation, is known as Mahabhav. And Mahabhav is Srimati Radharani. And she is the greatest exponent of Krishna Bhakti. She is the Guru of Gurus. She is the giver of Krishna and Krishna Bhakti. And only she experiences Mahabhav. Mahabhav, that ecstasy that she feels in the service of Lord Krishna. And so those who serve her, now and again, if she is satisfied, she distributes that Mahabhav to others. Here, taste something of this. That is the ultimate teaching of Srimad Bhagavatam. And Mahaprabhu Chaitanya Dev, he is advented in the world to show us what that means to be a devotee in the mood of Srimati Radharani. He doesn't prescribe imitating that. We are not to imitate that, but we are to worship that. We are to understand that Krishna Bhakti is so high, so noble, so beautiful, that Krishna himself hankers for that. That Krishna himself becomes a devotee, becomes converted to a devotee through the necessity of experiencing Mahabhav, Krishna Prema. Krishna wants to understand what that is. Krishna wants to feel that particular type of ecstasy, which is reserved only for Srimati Radharani. And so he comes as Gauranga Mahaprabhu, Krishna himself, but covered by the Bhav and Kanti, or heart and halo of Srimati Radharani. In this mood, he is Krishna converted into a devotee. So Krishna is showing us what it means to be a devotee of the Lord. As Gauranga Mahaprabhu, he's showing this is how we worship Krishna, through the Nama Sankirtan, and all of his Leela is showing what it means to be a devotee of Krishna. And he considered the highest scripture to be Srimad Bhagavatam, or the greatest literary work of Krishna Dvaipayana Vedavyas. So today, not today, yesterday was Guru Purnima, and that means not only the appearance of Vyasadeva, but also the worship of the Guru in all her manifestation. So the devotees will worship the person of their Gurudev on this day. And I saw in the time of Srila Sridhar Maharaj that on this day he would worship his Guru Maharaj Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And on this day Srila Govinda Maharaj would worship Srila Bhakti Rakha Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj. So we would see that, and that is called Vyasa Puja, because the Guru is the representative of Vyasadeva. You can say he carries the authority of Vyasadeva. And who can be Guru? Anyone can be Guru who knows the science of Krishna. It is not something that is decided by a committee or by a popular vote, but it is something that is self-manifest, that manifests itself in this mundane world. The divinity manifests himself in this mundane world in such a way that those who are sincerely desiring that and seeking that, they are naturally drawn to that. It is a function of the Absolute. The Guru is a function of the Absolute. That the Absolute wishes to extend himself to the finite, where the finite and the infinite meet in that plane is known as Sri Guru. And the figure of Sri Guru is worshipped by the disciple as non-different from the Lord. Guru Maharaj, it is very difficult to understand actually. Sri Guru is very difficult to understand. Srila Sridhar Maharaj said, 4 tattva that are not possible to properly understand with the intellect. One is Nam tattva, how the name and the Lord are one and the same. And Dham tattva, how the place of the Lord's pastimes on this earth are the same as the eternal place of the Lord's Leela in the spiritual world. Dham tattva. And Shiva tattva, the position of Shiva, how sometimes he is Rudra and sometimes he is Sadashiv, non-different with Mahavishnu. How that is so, that is very difficult to understand and impossible to properly understand by the intellect. And the 4th, Guru tattva. So what is Guru? Who is Guru? And how do we understand that in our relative position? Guru tattva. So we are observing that and considering that yesterday on the day of Guru Purnima. Not only that, not only Guru Purnima yesterday, but also was the disappearance of Sanatan Goswami. And as you know, Sanatan Goswami was the Parshada of Mahaprabhu Chaitanya Dev, the older brother of Rupa Goswami. And Rupa Goswami, the head of our Sampradaya. Mahaprabhu Chaitanya Dev, he told the devotees, I want that Rupa Goswami will be the head of our Sampradaya. And why? What was his qualification? Not that he was a good manager or any of these things, but what he conceived of. Those things which only Chaitanya Dev and Swarup Damodar knew. What was only understood by them, he understood that. And what he composed, Mahaprabhu considered that to be the infallible truth of Krishna consciousness. And he asked all the devotees, you please examine him, Haridas Thakur and Swarup Damodar Goswami, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, and Prabodhananda Saraswati, all of these great Vaishnavas in the time of Mahaprabhu. Then Mahaprabhu asked them, you please examine this Rupa and see if my decision is correct, that I have appointed him as the head of our Sampradaya. Look at these compositions. He would say, Rupa, tell Haridas your composition of the Namastakam, the verses describing the glories of the holy name that you have composed. And he recited those, and Haridas became ecstatic to hear those explanations. So this is Rupa Goswami. Therefore our
I was wrong or a chair was wrong?
Therefore our Sampradaya is called the Rupanuga Sampradaya. It is not called the Chaitanya Sampradaya, it is called the Rupanuga Sampradaya. And Sanatan Goswami, although Mahaprabhu Chaitanya Dev, Rupa Goswami Prabhu, always considered himself to be junior and submissive to Sanatan. Sanatan Goswami, he says that I consider myself as Rupanuga. So this way, Rupa Goswami's Sampradaya, all supported by Sanatan Goswami, and Sanatan Goswami, a great Parshada devotee of Chaitanya Dev. So yesterday was his disappearance day. And yesterday was the first day of Chaturmasya. So the 4-month period of Chaturmasya began yesterday. Some begin from Ekadashi day, But in our Chaitanya Saraswat Mat, we begin from the full moon day, the Purnima. So Guru Purnima, that also marks the beginning of Chaturmasya. And that time, devotees, they usually, it means the rainy season. In India, it means the 4-month rainy season. And usually devotees, they stay in one place and perform some type of austerity for the satisfaction of the Lord and so on. So this is begun yesterday, and we are observing that in a small way. And Jai Gurudev, Jai Shri Gurudev, Jai. And yesterday also, the Guru Purnima is when we observed the appearance day of our Bhakti Bimal Avadut Maharaj, who was given the responsibility of Acharya for the Eastern Bloc, means the former Soviet Union, Ukraine and Russia. And he at the moment, he's in Ukraine. They're doing their Veda Life Festival. And yesterday they observed his Vyasa Puja was observed by his disciples and followers. And we are also sometimes engaged by him for the service of Gurudev in that area. It is, when I first met him, I met him in Navadvip. I forget the year now, but at that time, his name was Jagannath Ballabha. And Gurudev introduced me to him. Said, "Oh, you please meet my disciple, Jagannath Ballabha, and get to know him. He is our main man in Russia," Gurudev told. And I remember at that time he was there. He's not even wearing a dhoti, or in the mott even. He's not wearing a dhoti or a kurta or anything. He looked a bit like a punk, just like kind of these shorts and like a scruffy t-shirt, and I thought, okay, I was kind of puzzled, like, why does Gurudev introducing him to me, or me to him? Then we were talking, and he asked me. He said, "Oh, have you ever been to Glastonbury Rock Festival?" I said, "Yeah, I went a couple of times as a teenager, and I went also a few times with ISKCON. We did some preaching there, Then he said, "Oh, well, my idea is, that we should make, instead of like having a little booth at one of these festivals and doing some preaching from there, we should make our own Glastonbury festival, and we control everything, like inviting who performs there and everything, and then we can preach Krishna consciousness there." And I was thinking, yeah, sure, yeah, of course that's going to happen, I didn't take him very seriously. I just thought he's like one of these, young punk kids who got like so many ideas about how to preach Krishna consciousness, So I didn't take him very seriously. Then the next thing I know, right, he's taken sannyas. Gurudev has given him this name, Bhakti Bimal Avadut Maharaj, and very apt Avadut, that name, because he is like Avadut, behaves like an Avadut, we can say. He's not the stereotypical or orthodox devotee. He does so many kind of unorthodox things for preaching Krishna consciousness, that some of them may make your eyebrows raise, when you see what he does. But what I saw when I was in Russia the few times with Gurudev, that Gurudev was very almost submissive to him. Whatever he organized, he would say, some reporters are coming, you tell them you're a guru from India and you've come to bless the people of Russia. Gurudev says, yes, okay, and then I've just come from India, he says, I want to give blessing to all the people of India, of Russia, like this. So we saw that. It was kind of remarkable, really, and that's what he did, right? So he organized these festivals. They were called Ethno-Life to begin with, Ethno-Life. And they were like, they had rock bands and they had all kinds of things that you might see at like a kind of Glastonbury festival. But they also had preachers of Krishna consciousness there, like all the time. And I was invited to he was making a big festival in Moscow, and he got many of the parks in Moscow. He was arranging like a cultural festival, Indian cultural festival, and the ambassador of India to Russia, he was like invited as one of the guests of honor. So then they heard, right, that they were expecting like 50,000 people to come to this festival. And when the government heard about this, and also the Russian Orthodox Church, so since the fall of communism, the Russian Orthodox Church have become kind of powerful again in Russia. So they were protesting, he's doing this festival, 50,000 people, and they have to do something. So the government called Avadut Maharaj in, and they said, you can't do this, it's like 50,000 people. He already had permission from the government, but because of this, they just thought this is going to be crazy, like 50,000 people. Then, they called him in, and Gurudev was invited also that year. Whoops. So they called him in, and they said, we've got to cancel it. We can't carry on with this. The government is saying. So Avadut Maharaj says, yes, you can cancel it if you want an international incident with the Indian government, because our main guest of honor is the ambassador from India. So if you want to, you can explain to the Indian ambassador why the Indian Cultural Festival has been cancelled. So then he said, but what I can do is I can like reduce it in size, if you like. So then they thought, okay, they understood. Yeah, he's right. If we cancel it, we're going to look like the bad guys. It's going to be bad for our relationship with India. And as you probably know, like many Indian students, they study in Russia, and there is like some good relationship generally between India and Russia. So they knew that we're not going to look good if we do this. So then he reduced it, and he came back and to Gurudev that the day of the festival, and he said, we have to reduce the size of it. And he's like feeling really kind of like disappointed, and he's like, I'm really sorry, Gurudev, but there's probably only going to be like 25,000 people coming now. Like for most people, right, this would be like their preaching event of their lifetime, that they were able to make a festival of 25,000 people. And he's like, I'm really sorry, Gurudev. I wanted 50,000. Now it's only 25,000. Okay. And Gurudev was invited there, and it was packed. The whole thing was packed. They had like Indian dancers, they had Indian martial arts exhibitions, all kinds of, like cultural things. And he said to Gurudev, we have to be a little bit careful in how we present this, So, if you can not give directly about Krishna consciousness, that would be better. He kind of suggested that to Guru Maharaj. Gurudev. Gurudev said, all right, Prabhu, Maharaj. Then they introduced him, our main guest from India, he's a guru, he's Bhakti Sundar Govinda Maharaj. And Maharaj came on to the stage and he said, this is a cultural festival of India, celebrating the Indian culture. And he said, but it is impossible for us to think of Indian culture without thinking of Lord Krishna. Without Lord Krishna, there's no culture in India, And then he just went full into like preaching Krishna consciousness on there, and everyone, the Indian ambassador was there in the front row, and so many devotees. There was many devotees came that year from around the world. Goswami Maharaj was there. I think Janardhan Maharaj was there. Siddhanti Maharaj, like so many. There were just loads of them, and we were all given like places to preach. There was in the park. It was Gorky Park, I think, which is the big park in Moscow. And we had booths, and I was put in this booth for the day, and it said, "Ask a wise man." It was in Russia, in Russian, but I was told that was what it says. Ask a wise man, and people would just come and ask questions, and they weren't about Krishna consciousness necessarily. Like one girl, she said to me, "Oh, my parents want me to be a doctor, and they're sending me to." Well, I don't want to be a doctor. What should I do? Well, they'll be upset, So anyway. So I had to try and answer those kind of questions, but like bring them round to Krishna consciousness, which was good actually. It was very nice. And I remember the Moscow temple. The Moscow temple is like next door to the buildings of the KGB. Right next. I mean, there's a wall dividing the KGB headquarters to our temple in Moscow. So and Avadut Maharaj had just secured it recently. He just got it recently, and they were building the temple room and other things there. So he was very cagey about how we presented ourselves. So we had to come to the temple not wearing devotee clothes and then change when we got into the temple. That was how it was. Paramahansa Maharaj came with us that time. He likes to take out all the devotees out on Sankirtana. But Avadut Maharaj is thinking he could blow the whole thing for us, if they get at that time. Now it's established, but at that time it hadn't been established properly. So that he was thinking if they find out the Hare Krishnas are here, they could shut the whole thing down. So then they more or less imprisoned Paramahansa Maharaj in one of the devotees' flats in Moscow. Wouldn't let him come out to do preaching. To do the Sankirtan. But anyway, the festival was very nice, and there were programs in the evening, and I remember I wasn't feeling very well, and we were staying actually in Bharati Maharaj has got a mansion basically. He has a mansion in Moscow, like a gated community. They got guards on the gates and everything. Gurudev was staying there, and myself and other devotees were also staying there. So Gurudev's going back in the evening in the car, and I just jumped in the back of the car like I'm not feeling so well. I thought I'll go with Gurudev, and we're going down the road, and after we'd gone a bit, I see Gurudev's looking at me in the mirror of the car, and he said, "Oh, Devashis Prabhu, you're here." I said, "Yeah, Maharaj, I wasn't feeling too good," and he said, whoever was driving, I forget, he said, Stop the car, and he says, "You have to get out now, Devashis Prabhu, and go and do the preaching that Acharya Maharaj has assigned for you." And I was like, "Oh, okay, Maharaj." And I got out the car and I walked back, and then there was an evening program at some hall that I was meant to speak at. Not just me, many devotees speaking, but Gurudev was like, "No, you have to do that. You're not having a night off," which was my idea. Have a night off, get a nice ride back in the car with Gurudev. But anyhow, it was quite a wonderful festival, and since then I've been maybe 3 or 4 times to the Veda Life Festival, which is going on now in the Ukraine. They're doing that right now in Kiev, and they had that year. It was in one year. It was in the newspaper there, or on the television news, that there was the church had organized a festival celebrating 2,000 years or 3,000 years of Christianity, some big thing, and it was on the news that no one was going for that festival. They were all going to the Hare Krishna festival on the island, the Veda Life Festival instead. So and really seriously, there were every night, every day, 20,000 and plus people coming to that festival, and the main stage was just all day devotees preaching, and sometimes there wasn't many people there. Sometimes it was completely full, and because they are starving for spiritual life because it was denied for so long. And Avadut Maharaj is presenting it in such a way that's very appealing to them, He has this way of engaging people. Like he just meets somebody one day, and the next day he says, "This is my head of digital communications." Like he just joined yesterday, and now he's the head of the digital communications. And he's engaged him in doing that. Is that kind of amazing thing? And another thing, actually, we were in St. Petersburg. Gurudev cut out the newspaper article which was in the Times of India, and it says, I think the title was that Chaitanya temple on the steps of Lenin, you know, like, and it was about our temple in St. Petersburg. Gurudev cut that out and had it framed and put on the wall in his room. So anyway, that beautiful temple there, really beautiful temple they have there. And Gurudev was there for some time. I was with him there. And what was I saying? Lost my train of thought now.
You're preaching at the festival?
Can't remember what I was going to say. Anyway, it doesn't matter, but maybe it'll come to me in a few minutes. But anyway, it was that in Kiev, they or just outside Kiev, they call it a castle. It's not a castle, not by, you know, like British standards of what a castle is. It's more like a manor house, you could say, you know, but it does have some turrets and things on it. And it's called Govindaland, and that's like the biggest center for Krishna consciousness in the whole of like what used to be the Soviet Union. Anyway, that's there now. So some of that Veda Life festival's happening there. Some of it's happening in the city of Kiev, and you know, it's a really inspiring festival because you get to speak to people who are actually interested in spiritual life. You know, they actually want to know things, you know. And yeah, it's really good, yeah.
Interesting, then you are like to tell them.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he talked to me about making like a similar festival in the UK. Their festival is like, I say, 20,000 people every day, and it's free. But I said, yeah, if you have it in the UK, you'll just get people coming to heckle, you know, if it's free. If you charge, people are less likely to come that aren't interested, you know. But if you made it free here, you just get people coming to shout at you and jeer you, and you know, in the West. I mean, say in the UK,
too.
There it's free, yeah. So
it means they were more sensible.
yeah, and also the rule that they have a rule there, right? Intoxication is not allowed there.
Okay.
And so no one, I mean, there might be secretly, but there's no like people getting drunk or taking marijuana or any of these things.
And smoking.
Or even smoking, yeah, it's not happening there, you know. And 20,000 young people coming every day to engage in that. There's lots of things. There's things for everyone. There's yoga, there's dance, there's all kinds of new age sort of things.
You have been there?
I think 4 times. And Avadut Maharaj is so generous that he even gave free slots for the ISKCON temple to come there. You know, they had 2, one selling Prabhupada's books, and another one they bought because they have nearby a dairy. You know, so they bought a big bull one day and a cow, and they're selling all these like products from the dairy there, ghee and yogurt and milk and paneer and all these sort of things. And another thing with the bookstall. But anyhow, it was a really inspiring festival. But I saw this thing a few days ago, and I read it yesterday when we were doing the Zoom with Madhusudan Maharaj, talking about Guru Purnima. I read that yesterday, but I wanted to read it again to everybody here, just in case, like, those who don't know Avadut Maharaj or not sure like who he is and everything, just in case anyone's like confused about him. This is directly from the mouth of Srila Govinda Maharaj, speaking to the devotees in Russia here. He said, I think every day about how gracious my spiritual master has been to me. But in general, most of my life, I didn't give it any meaning. I forgot about it. I forgot not out of idleness, but because I was busy serving him. And eventually now I'm here, being with you, sharing this grace with you. I also want to accept it, as you are the continuation of the ideal of Guru Maharaj. He's addressing the Russian devotees. I also want you to carry this grace, spread it, then it will become even bigger. And if I don't mention the name of Avadut Maharaj, this will be an insult to my Guru Maharaj. What Avadut Maharaj does is a miracle for us. Anyway, what is true must be manifested. That you are with me now is the grace of Avadut Maharaj. I know this. I wanted to arrive earlier during the Ethnoland program, but Avadut Maharaj told me to arrive later on the 28th, and I accepted his direction. Yesterday I understood why he said that. I saw photos from the Ethnoland festival. I was amazed and surprised how he manages to do and manage such projects. Of course, all the devotees help him. Yet he always glorifies me, says all that he does is by my grace. But this is Srila Guru Maharaj, who wants him to spread Krishna consciousness around the world. The Guru's position is to give Krishna consciousness. Kibra Vipra Kibra Nyasi Shudra Kenanai, Jai Krishna Tattva Veta, say Guru Hai. When Mahaprabhu met Ramananda, Ramananda Rai said, I am in the lowest position. But Mahaprabhu pronounced this famous shloka. Whoever you are, whatever social situation you occupy, it doesn't matter. If you're busy preaching Krishna consciousness, you're taking the position of a teacher or guru. And I'm telling you very clearly, my Gurudev, Srila Sridhar Maharaj, has manifested himself here in the form of Avadut Maharaj. He gives so many opportunities to serve me and you all. Without Avadut Maharaj, the mission could not develop here. You are all the friends of Avadut Maharaj, and I always glorify him. But he gives that glory to me and other Vaishnavas. So many Vaishnavas from around the world are present here. Sripad Janardhan Maharaj, Sripad Goswami Maharaj, Sripad Siddhanti Maharaj. And all these Vaishnavas praise Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga, Sri Gandharva Govinda Sundar, and Guru Gauranga Radha Madhava Sundar. Those are the deities in St. Petersburg. Avadut Maharaj miraculously gathered all of us in the service of Srila Guru Maharaj. Rohini Shakti Didi, Shruta Shrava Prabhu, they're also present here thanks to Avadut Maharaj. 2 days ago, I jokingly told him, are you doing your business? And what is his business? To gather all the Vaishnavas together for service, in particular here in Russia. Every person's position is very important, and you are all very lucky to have been able to touch Krishna consciousness, thanks to Avadut Maharaj. So there you can, from that we can understand something. Who is he? And what does he do? You know, that he makes so many programs, and many of those programs make huge amounts of money. And also he spends huge amounts of money. One year on one of those Ethnolife, before I went there, one of those Ethnolife, he sent a film to Gurudev, and he's flying in one of those like one man like helicopter things. He's flying around the park where they're doing that, and like filming from there. But you know, one of the things I saw, that was what I wanted to say, now I remember, when we went to the St. Petersburg temple. So the temple's there, it's like 3 stories, the temple, and on the top floor there's some guest rooms, and the only thing they couldn't do there was they couldn't build domes there. The government wouldn't allow them to build domes, but it's all been built like in a kind of Vedic architecture style. they hired an architect who, and Navadvip Maharaj took him to Navadvip to see the temples there and everything, and he designed that temple in St. Petersburg. Anyway, and then at the front, there's a big kitchen and some living quarters near the gate, and Gurudev's room is there up upstairs. Nice room. He has like his bedroom, which is probably maybe the size of our temple room, and then like a kind of meeting room outside where he meets with all the devotees when Gurudev was there. So then I'm thinking, I'm looking everywhere, like, where's Navadvip Maharaj's room? You'd think like he must have a room here somewhere. Nothing, I can't see any room. Then I'm going down the stairs and I see underneath the stairs, like that space underneath the stairs,
Basement.
like to the stairs goes down to the ground floor, but you see, like here, right? We've got underneath the stairs, we got some shelving and the fridge is there and everything, right? So there's a cloth being stapled to the stairs there, and there Navadvip Maharaj is living, like in the sleeping bag on the floor. He's not got any room that like for him. This is where he's sleeping, and he's not all that. Sometimes when they make so much money from these festivals, he just plows it back into preaching. Always has all these like programs to preach.
He detached from money. He used from the Krishna consciousness.
Yeah, he just uses it for Krishna's service. I'm amazed, and he's so generous to all the devotees and always, very self-effacing, but very confident in his conception of Gurudev and preaching. Always preaching and always coming up with the ideas. Goswami Maharaj told me, he said, I've got this idea, Maharaj, to present an exhibition about samurai warriors. And Goswami Maharaj says, like, what? Like Japanese samurai, So he did this. They got all these things from Japan, samurai armor and swords and all these things. And they have this big exhibition that he was taking around, like places in Russia. And so many people came to that exhibition. But from that, he made so many of those people into devotees of Krishna. Because he just used it as like a segue for presenting Krishna consciousness. So, and made like loads of money from that also. And, used that in Krishna's service. So you can say there's like a method to his madness,
You know how to.
He knows what to do, yeah. I'm quite good friends with his brother. His brother's name is Satyasundar, and he's older brother of Navadvip Maharaj. Navadvip Maharaj's mother and father, they're also devotees too. Vijay Raman is his father. He manages the temple in St. Petersburg, and Tulsi Devi, she's his mother. And then his older brother, his name's Satyasundar, and he's like my friend. So when I was in Chiang Mai, he lives there. His daughter goes to school there, and he took me to there's a mountain in Chiang Mai which is the highest in the whole of Thailand. From there you can see like Vietnam and Burma and like all these from the top of the mountain. So he took me up to the top of the mountain. At the top of this mountain, there's 2 temples of Buddha. Like there's 2 peaks to the mountain, and one is the Buddha temple that belongs to the king, and the other side is the Buddha temple that belongs to the queen, and they're on these 2 peaks. So we went up there. Unfortunately, the day when we went up there, it was so foggy that you couldn't see your hand in front of your face. So misty it was up there. So I didn't get to see Vietnam and Cambodia and all these things that you're meant to be able to see from there. But anyway, we went there and we went to see some of the waterfalls and other things that were going on there in the national park. It was the day before I was leaving. He wanted to show me some of the sights, so to say. And we went to some temples and other things. And he was telling me about because he and his brother, Navadvip Maharaj, they moved to New York. In fact, when he came to Gurudev, he was living in New York, both of them, when they came to Gurudev. And it was his idea. He didn't want to go back to Russia. He was like thriving in New York. So, but Gurudev told him, no, you go and preach in Russia. That was what Gurudev wanted from him, and he did. But so Satyasundar told me, they were just working, like making their way, maybe like washing pots in a restaurant or something. I don't remember exactly, but some kind of like what.
They are better off in Russia?
No, I mean now they are, but this was when, actually before they met the devotees. This was, so they're, and he said every day when we're going to work, we're going on the train, or the the metro, the tube, whatever they call it in, what do they call it in New York? The subway, yeah. So they're going every day, and he said, so as they're going, like on an overground part of it, he said every day we go past a church, and he said, and he would look at this church, every day as we're going by, and I see like he's got some kind of interest in the church, and so every day we're going, and then maybe after like a week or 2 weeks, as they're going past the church, he says to Satyasundar, we're getting off here today, and it's like, oh, but we've got like 5 or 6 more stops till we get to where our work is. He says, no, we're not going there today. So they get off, and he just makes a beeline for the church, and it's a Catholic church. Next to the church is the priest's house. So he just goes up and knocks on the door of the priest's house, and the priest comes to the door and he says, you've got time for a little chat, Father? And he says, yeah, sure. So he comes in and he says, look, every day I'm coming to go into my work, and I see this church, very nice church. You've got like a huge car park, and it's completely empty. He said, if you let me, like 2 days a week, I'd like to rent your car park, and I'll give you like $100 each day for that car park. Priest says, yeah, sure, It's like help out the church. Says, yeah, sure. So within a couple of weeks, he's made that car park into an arts and crafts market. And he's like sold stalls to all these people who want to sell arts and crafts in the local area.
Father was happy too.
Yeah. So, he's making much more than $100 every day. But
he was happy, he wasn't getting anything.
Exactly,
He was
yeah.
getting $100.
Yeah. So, and the Satyasundar Prabhu says to me, that's how his brain works, He sees everything as an opportunity. And I heard yesterday from Goswami Maharaj, he said, what he said, one day we were going, Gurudev was in Moscow, and he said, we're going with Avadut Maharaj for preaching at some place. And he said, the bus breaks down, we're in like a bus, and the bus breaks down, and where it breaks down, just nearby, there's a circus nearby, like a traveling circus. So while they're fixing the bus, Avadut Maharaj goes off to the circus. And he just, like, they're all like acrobats and, clowns and tumblers and high wire walkers and all the things you have in a circus. Yeah. And he's just preaching to them, right? He's just preaching to them and telling them about Govinda Maharaj and everything. Then when the bus is finished, like the repairs finished to the bus, he brings all the members of the circus onto the bus, and he takes the bus back to Moscow and introducing all of these circus people to Srila Govinda Maharaj. He's been like, where everyone else would have thought, oh, this is like ruined, the day's ruined because the bus is broken down. He's thinking this is an opportunity for preaching, and the next thing he's like bringing all these people to meet Gurudev. So anyway, this is his like
increasing Krishna consciousness.
Yeah, he's like a genius. He's like a kind of savant genius in a way, He knows what he's doing. He's told Goswami Maharaj, like, I know what I'm doing, Maharaj. Because sometimes you doesn't seem like that. He said one time, like he arranged in I think in Moscow or Petersburg or something like that. He arranged some festival program, like in an auditorium, like something like Wembley Arena or equivalent to that, right? So, and as part of that, he's got all kinds of things going on there. But as part of that, he's booked Goswami Maharaj to talk for like half an hour or something, the thing starts maybe 6. At 8, Goswami Maharaj is meant to come on and say something. So he's going in the car, Goswami Maharaj, from where they're staying. He's going in the car to the auditorium, or the venue, the arena. And as he's coming in, he said, the traffic is just crazy. He can't move for cars. And he said, it reminded me when I was a teenager, going to a rock concert, that if the Beatles or the Rolling Stones or someone there performing, the streets were like completely jam-packed with cars going to the auditorium. So, Hollywood Bowl, or, wherever they had some big venue. Then he's thinking, oh, maybe there's like some kind of concert or something going on, which is delaying everyone. And then finally, when he arrives at the venue, it becomes obvious that traffic jam are people going to this program. That's why the traffic was so bad, because they're all going to Avadut Maharaj's program. And then he comes on like at 8 o'clock, and this is it. Like he says, okay, now you can preach Krishna consciousness, and just like giving Maharaj a platform to do that from. He said he gave the example, like the sniper who's come to kill the president or someone. He said, you're waiting around all day for the right opportunity, and then when that person arrives, and you can get them in their sights, and the death kill or the kill shot. He said, so he's just setting up this whole thing, so at the end they can do the death shot and preach Krishna consciousness to all these people. And what is that? And that auditorium seats 3,000 people, and there was not a spare seat in the whole auditorium. All 3,000 people there. And so much so that when Goswami Maharaj arrived, they had to ask somebody to get up to give him a seat. And these are people who've paid to come to this thing also. So anyhow, this is his kind of preaching. And, really, you see.
Big temple in Moscow?
Yeah, both. We have temples all over Russia now.
I think there's 6.
And but also centers too. And he has a restaurant in Moscow called Jagannath Express, and they've got about 10 branches now, I think. It was the first vegetarian restaurant in Russia. Now there's lots of them. No, but not only was it the first vegetarian restaurant, it was he, because of his time in New York and everything, he saw that in New York the Americans, they do fast food, right? So that was the idea, to present vegetarian food like fast food, and so he called it the Jagannath Express, which for those of us who know, of course, that's the name of a train that goes from Howrah to Jagannath Puri. The Jagannath Express, there's 2 trains that go, the Jagannath Express and the Puri Express. But anyway, he called that the Jagannath Express. So that's in Moscow, and it's like from walking from here to the train station from where our temple is there. So, and that temple now is established in Moscow. And as I said, it's right next door to the KGB. They're not called the KGB anymore, but they still do the same thing, He said to me once, he said, don't think, because I went to the Russia when it was the Soviet Union, just passing through there on the way to India, and we had a stopover, and we were given passes or visas, I suppose, to go into the center. Moscow center. We went into the town, and just had a look around, and I stopped somebody to ask them for directions, and the man was really upset with me, and I said, what's wrong? I just wanted to know where. You seem very upset, and he said, yeah, because now I have to go to the police station and report that I was stopped by a foreigner. That was the law, during the communist Russia. any foreigner stops you, you have to go to the police station and report like what they said, and you know, it was like all very kind of suspicious. And of course now after the fall of communism, everything's a lot more open. And I said, but Avadut Maharaj said to me, don't think this is a free country now. He said, any time you can get a knock on the door and get disappeared in the middle of the night. It can happen any time. And these guys, maybe they called it the Politburo or something instead of the KGB now, but they're like right next door to our temple in Moscow. And our temple in the temple in St. Petersburg, they're the first like full-size Radha Krishna deities installed in Russia. Even ISKCON hadn't done that before, Avadut Maharaj. They had Gaur-Nitai in Moscow, the ISKCON in their center, but this is Radha Madan Mohan and Mahaprabhu. And they're big, you know, they're like maybe 6 feet tall, those deities. And they're the first ones that were ever installed in Russia. And it's really a beautiful temple, so nicely designed. Underfloor heating and, you know, everywhere, and really beautiful. And I wasn't there, but at the opening of the temple, like the ISKCON leaders were invited to come. They came there, and then one of the ISKCON leaders said, "Yeah, this is great, but like, how do you deal with the mafia? You know, because the Russian mafia, you have to pay them off to do anything, you know, and it's like, it's very prohibitive what you can do, because if they don't give their blessing, so to say, you don't get the chance to do it." That's why ISKCON had it very difficult to establish any center there. That and the opposition from the Russian Orthodox Church and the Muslims both. In fact, they just recently, or maybe I say recently, in the last 10 years or so, they tried to, the Muslim people and the Russian Orthodox Church, they came together to try to have the Bhagavad Gita declared as you know, like what you call that, subversive literature. You know, they failed because obviously the Indian government got involved and saying this is like our scripture, you know, and you're saying, but they tried to have it banned in Russia by the Orthodox Church and the Muslims. They came together because they feel it's a big threat, you know. Even I remember in the time of Guru Maharaj, when Brezhnev was president, he said in an address to the people, the two biggest threats to the culture of Russia is American pop music and Hare Krishna. Guru Maharaj told us that. He heard it on the British World Service, which he used to listen to on the radio after his prasadam. Anyway, so the ISKCON leaders, they're there for the opening, the installation of the deities there, and they said, this is great, but like, how do you deal with the mafia? And Avadut Maharaj's reply was, we are the mafia. Anyway, so yeah, because he's like the native there, then he knows how to get around everything and how to do everything. He's a kind of a genius. So, yeah, beautiful. It's a beautiful temple there, and they had the basement. They were going to make a kitchen in the basement, and then the main floor is where the deities are, and the kirtan hall, and then they have at the back it's all glass. And they have all the tulsis there in the back of the temple, because the underfloor heating, everything. It's a very nice environment for her. She really thrives. From that, you can see it's right on, because it's right on the beach. You can say the banks of the Baltic Sea. So you can see across the Baltic Sea from the back of the temple. And yeah, it was very beautiful. And Vijay Raman and his wife, they have a house there, and he manages the temple. They have very nice like garden where they grow vegetables and things for the temple, and it's very beautiful, very beautiful. And then up on the top floor they have like guest rooms for the devotees to stay in. very nicely managed and everything. And
Must be lift there. Lift there.
no lift. But
3 stories across.
the 3 stories means the basement is one.
Yeah.
Like this is, you can say, well, now we've got 4 stories, haven't we? Yeah, but yeah. So, but the kitchen wasn't complete when I was there. That they were making in the ground floor. So the kitchen was in a building like adjacent to it. But Gurudev kind of made some remark that he wasn't happy about there being a kitchen in the basement. They said this is not like proper place for it. Yeah. So whether they abandoned that idea or not, I don't know, because I haven't been there since. But excuse me. But they had like a prasadam area where devotees would take prasadam, and like a gift shop and bookshop. That was all in the basement. And then they have the temple room upstairs, and it's very nice. They have adjacent to the altar. The altar is like at a high level, and like you have in India, like kind of chest height, and that's like that. Then, but it's all enclosed. But there's enough room around the back of the altar for them to do like parikram. So that in the morning they can do parikram around the deities. And yeah, it's nice, and nice like gardens, and the devotees they get together every now and again, and they clean the beach. They're around there. They clear up all the.
About 100, 200 devotees.
I don't know how many devotees. I mean, obviously at festival time, when we were there, because Gurudev was there was a lot more people. So, but who actually lives there, I'm not sure. But how many people live there, I don't know. But it's very nice temple, really very nice. And in Moscow the temple is not similar, but temple room and everything is slightly smaller, but still quite big. And on the altar there, they have a photograph of the deities that are in St. Petersburg, but it's a photo that's kind of lit from behind, so it actually looks like the deities are there. It's really and they also have a deity of Giriraj, actual Govardhan Shila there. That's very nice. I haven't been to any other of the centers, but.
So when last you have been there?
Well, that was when Gurudev was still here.
Oh, so many years ago.
Yeah. So, and also, Mukunda Prabhu, he was with me then. That time he was still Mukunda Prabhu before he took sannyas, and so I'm really bad with like the years and everything, but it was a long time ago. But it's very nice. And
How many years Maharaj has gone?
Govinda Maharaj disappeared in 2010, so like 11 years ago now. Yeah.
Time passes.
So quickly, yeah. So, but maybe it was, I don't know, 98 or something like that. I forget exactly, but I was very fortunate to be able to go there that time. And others were there. Shruta Shrava Prabhu was there, and
So many devotees Hatton Cross at the moment?
not so many, no, because Lavanyamai had the COVID, so they had to close the temple to the public. So, and they lost they had 2 devotees from South America, but they kind of lost them. That were coming, that had come on visas to serve for 2 years, but then both of them just decided they didn't want to do that anymore, and left. But anyhow,
Well, they went back home.
I think so. I don't know, but anyway, obviously the core team are still doing everything. Saraswati and Sachi and Lavanya, not so much right now because she's still ill, but Pandita and but Lavanya's tough. She's recovering, and some devotees come and help when they can. But like everywhere, always some
This COVID
manpower
is-
shortage.
COVID is a very difficult place.
It's very difficult, yeah.
Anywhere it can go.
Yeah. But there you are. So but they're open again
So
now.
you go there? Or you
Yeah, I go when I can.
Okay.
Sometimes I go give a talk there. Just recently, we had the inauguration of the new Tulsi Mandir there.
Okay.
So I went for that. That was very nice. Actually, we had very nice weather there. But then mainly they're doing like prasadam distribution since the beginning of the lockdown, and the government are giving many grants to them for that. And they have many local Hindu people come and volunteer to help with that. So largely because one man who's a manager at the local Tesco's, he's a Hindu who's involved with the Swami Narayan temple, and he just rallied all of these Hindu families and told go and like volunteer at the temple there, and so they got like regular people coming there and helping with the prasadam distribution. They have all these like Indian taxi drivers just roll up to come and deliver prasadam to people. That's really very good, and lots of it's all organised very nicely.
I heard at that Tulsi installation that you read from Varga something.
I did, yeah.
How did you get it?
It's available. It's it's available. But there's one chapter on there about the glories of Tulsi Devi. So I just read that.
We had it in Bengal, I think, by
Yeah, it was published by Sagamar, or not translated, but done by Sagamar.
we have got it.
Sagar Maharaj not here.
No.
Where he is nowadays?
I don't know. I think in New Zealand, but I really don't know. But
I think the lady, what was her name? I forgot. She sold the house.
I don't know. I don't really keep up with it all, but anyhow, yeah. So it's everything's available if you. But how good it is, that's another thing,
Could we hear, sometimes we hear different stories coming out about Krishna which aren't in the Bhagavatam. So
Yeah, well, there are other things that are like Garga Sangita particularly, and Haribangsa and other things where Krishna Leela in Vrindavan is described. But Gurudev liked very much Garga Sangita, but he did remark that he was glad that we didn't have the English translation of it. He said it's not for everybody. But this is a
it's too high for us.
yeah. There's a lot of intimate things in there, of rasa and everything. But this particular chapter about the glories of Tulsi Devi, I read it through and thought it was kind of appropriate for that ceremony. And very nicely, the Tulsis are doing there, like this whole controlled environment. They spent a lot of money and time doing that. And that one devotee is named Satish Prabhu, who's kind of looking after the Tulsis there. They're very beautifully thriving in that kind of controlled environment. But it was a long time coming. But anyway, we're happy to see that. And now it's in August, of course. August is like the month of festivals, Baladev's appearance day, Janmastami, Radhastami, all of the many things going on. Guru Maharaj's. I forget now. I can tell you. And not next Sunday, but the Sunday after, the 8th, is Srila Sridhar Maharaj's disappearance day.
On 8.
On the 8th, Sunday the 8th, yeah. So,
The Rath Yatra as well.
yes, ISKCON Rath Yatra, yeah, also. So we will see
We are not.
if devotees will come for that or whether they'll go for the party in central London.
I think Janmastami is 30.
So, so it is Yes, Monday the 30th of August is Janmashtami, which is a bank holiday actually. So, or is it? I think it is.
I
Yeah.
think so.
Yeah, bank holiday, summer bank holiday. So that's
Oh, we should
Janmashtami,
get a lot of people in.
and then on the Tuesday the 31st is Nandotsav, which is the feasting day. So Janmashtami is the fasting day, and the feasting day on the Tuesday, the 31st. Before that is the 22nd, the appearance of Baladev Purnima, and
What day is that, Prabhu?
22nd, Sunday the 22nd.
Sunday, okay.
Yeah, and as I say, Guru Maharaj is it's raining. Guru Maharaj's disappearance day is on the Sunday the 8th, which is
So we will
2
go.
weeks from here.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we're in September, is the 14th, Tuesday the 14th is
It's
Radhastami.
better to write down, otherwise you will forget.
Yes,
Then
I
you
know.
cannot remember.
I think we did we not give you a calendar?
No. Please give us.
Yeah, yeah,
Mobile,
okay.
we might access the calendar.
No,
Electronic.
no, I want to keep it in the temple, a calendar, so I can see.
Yeah, we can print one for you.
Thank you very much.
If the printer's working. It's working now, I think, isn't it? Yeah.
Every day.
So lots of festivals coming up.
Our driver
Yeah.
was asking really.
But next week
Yes.
I'm going to be away, so we won't have the broadcast next week. I'm going to see my mother for a few days.
Next week is
The 2nd, next Tuesday the 2nd. Maybe Surendra Prabhu, if you're available, you could give the talk on
Sunday.
next Sunday.
Yeah, I think so.
so we will come on 8th now.
Yeah, sure. So on the 8th we shall make a festival now.
After a long time we saw, we didn't see the Radha Shyam Sundar, let us go.
Yes, of
So
course.
it is very difficult for us to come.
Yeah. Now we're, you can say, fully open. There's no government restriction on how many people can come, or
Okay.
any of those things. But still, we try and be a little sensible.
Yes, it is better.
Then, but we're hoping that gradually our normal congregation will start coming back.
Daily right people, they always say sit with mask.
Yeah, although that's no longer a legal requirement, still there is some restriction. They're asking people to do that, and that's sensible.
It is good for everybody's health.
Yeah, that's sensible. So, but on Dial-A-Ride is public transport, isn't it? So then that's also that's still compulsory for public
They
transport.
disinfect,
Mm.
they don't keep many people.
Yes, it's good. So,
Only 2 of us
but
came.
the prevailing wisdom, I think, now is that we have to just learn to live with it, because it's not going away. It's not just because the government cancels the regulations that there's no COVID anymore. It's all gone. It's not
We
all
have to
gone.
protect ourselves.
So yeah, just have to be
India also,
around.
it is quite a good quantity.
Oh, indeed, yes, indeed. Anyway, these are. It's always something in this material world that is threatening us.
It is with nature, because people are playing with nature.
Yes.
So he
But Saraswat Thakur, his remark was that all of these difficulties that we experience. When I was in Kiev for this Veda Life Festival once, one lady asked me, if God is all good, why hasn't He made the world like perfect, free of all the troubles that we have in the world? Like so much death and disease and war and famine and all these things. Why hasn't God sorted it out? That was her question, And I said, well, if he thought it was necessary to do so, He would have already done it. But going further than that, Saraswat Thakur told us that the reason we have all these difficulties in the world is so that we can understand that this world isn't our home. If he made everything perfect, then we might think, oh, I quite like it here, I'll stay, you know.
Same thing.
So
But we are not this body.
yeah, so we need to understand that even if it's not the COVID, it'll be something else. There'll always be something in this material world to remind us that it is not the place, the paradise place that we try to make it. That really our home is somewhere else. And we should always be very aware and conscious of that. And not striving to make a perfect arrangement for ourselves in the material world, but because we can't change our environment. Guru Maharaj said this is the main teaching of Bhagavad Gita, is that you cannot change your environment, but you can change yourself. So this is what Krishna is trying to teach us, that we should change ourselves, adjust with the environment, and you know, of course, it's Guru Maharaj's vision, maybe not our vision, but he says that who are the enlightened people? They can understand that every wave that comes is favorable to us. So if we can take it from a Krishna conscious perspective, then we'll see that everything is favorable for our advancement and our opportunity to surrender to the Lord. But we shouldn't think that we can make any perfect arrangement for our living in this material world, because it will never be possible to be happy here, as you know, we know from that old example that Srila Prabhupada gave, and you know, was a very simple example, that here we are fish out of water. So it's not possible for us to be fulfilled here in the material world, because it's not our place. We're living in the foreign land. We are like fish out of water, and all we need is to find our way back to our real home, and that's what Krishna consciousness endeavors to show to us. That spiritual realm is our real home. And if we have that consciousness, if we're able to connect with that plane, then nothing of this material world can touch us. Whatever comes, whatever goes, that will all be, you know, like incidental to us. It is not actually important, ultimately. Because, you know, 100 years from now, who will remember any of it? You know, like at the turn of the century, there was a Spanish flu which was killing everybody, and who remembers that now? Only now we're reminded of it because of the COVID. People are saying, "Oh yeah, it was a bit like the Spanish flu," and you see photos of people wearing these masks, like kind of big long beaks or something that they used to wear. But now, you know, and the same thing with this COVID. At some time it'll be all forgotten about. How long it may be, we don't know. But we should think that if it isn't that, it'll be something else. And always there'll be something to disturb us in this material world. But we should not try. We shouldn't strive to make this world the perfect place, because that perfect place already exists. We should strive to reconnect with that plane, and nothing of this plane will really affect us anymore. Easy to say, of course, but maybe not so easy to realize that. You know, there's one Buddhist monk said, you know, I know that the pain I feel when I stand on a pin is not real, but it's just within my mind, you know. But still, at the time, I have some necessity to remove that pin from my foot. So in the same way, you know, we can say, or whatever happens to us is the best thing for us at this time, or is meant to happen to teach us something at this time. But at the same time, you know, like if your hand is in the fire, you can say, oh yeah, this is meant to be, and keep your hand there till it's burnt to nothing, and or you can choose to take your hand out of the fire. You know, there has to be some kind of sensible approach to that. But at the same time, we can try to understand what is Krishna trying to teach me by this. And Krishna giving so much opportunity to us for his service. So we can, if we concentrate on that. Saraswati Thakur said, there's nothing that you can do to stop your karma. It's already coming to you. It's already coming. Gurudev would say, you know, we are all suffering our karma fall. The fruit of our karma, it's coming to you. Don't think that just because you took initiation like 20 years or 40 years ago, whatever, that you're karma free now. Of course, maybe your slate is wiped clean, but the next moment, if you're doing something, some reaction will come for that. It's not that you've become like a Superman and you're not touched by the things of this world. You can't put your hand in the fire now and think that it won't burn you. Now you have to be sensible about that. But so Saraswati Thakur says nothing you can do to prevent that happening. It's coming to you. But he also said, and there's nothing you can do to make it happen. You know. So sometimes people are thinking, you know, oh, well, I'll save up money, I'll do this, I'll do that. If it's your karma, that's coming to you anyway. And if it's not, it doesn't matter what you do, it's not going to happen. So, you know, the best laid plans of mice and men are oft to go astray, as the poet said. So then Saraswati Thakur said, so don't concentrate your energy on these things. Use your energy to cultivate your inner life, your Krishna consciousness, and to serve Guru, Gauranga and Vaishnavas. Then at least you know that you're going in the right direction. We can die tomorrow, but at least we should be heading in the right direction. We are on the way. We are on the way. And that's what we want. That we're going on the way. If we can at least do that. And remember, you know, that we're not dealing with an impersonal absolute. Krishna is a person, and Krishna is friendly to us. As Srila Gurudev often would say, two truths are sure, that we are fallen souls. That is true for everyone, Gurudev would say. No one can deny, we are all fallen souls. He said, but the other thing that is true, undeniably true, is that Krishna is the friend of the fallen. So then some hope is there for us. That Krishna is the friend of the fallen. So if we try to give ourselves to Krishna, however imperfectly or however flawed our attempt may be, Krishna will extend his hand to lift us up. And that's all we need, that's all we want. For sure, every one of us will die at some point, for sure. But what will be our destination? To some degree, that is in our own hand. And we should spend our time to cultivate that, to invoke Krishna's mercy. We can't, by our own endeavor, we cannot reach him. We cannot go to him. But by his mercy, he can pull us up to him if he wants to. If he wants to, he can do that. And we should not think that we've just been put in this material world to suffer samsara again and again and again. He didn't design us for that. He didn't create us for that. He created us for a life of love with him in eternity. And we should be sure of that, have confidence in that, and know that although we are fallen, Krishna is the friend of the fallen. Then here's a good place for us to end our talk today. Jai Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Srila Bhakti Rakak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Bhagavan Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur ki jai. Rupanuga Guru Varga ki jai. Jai Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur ki jai. Jai Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Acharya Brinda ki jai. Jai Harinam Sankirtan ki jai. Nitai Gaura Premanande Hari Hari Bol.